cook myself and her, Wu and her, that's yeah. That part I want, I should walk in the dance. I cook myself and her, Wu and her, that's yeah. That part I want, I should walk in the dance. En haar snap op het paard, de harde onafdalen, zesmaal. We zagen gewoon de vangen. So let's talk almost like lady and gentleman. It must be those studies. And how to before. Kafar vanaftasu shaftaku nemha. However, now cook the shinu, now cook the yard. I find I want afraid
My only mission in life is get away from the Adamites and the black devil helpers messing with the white light. Other religion, I stay on my lahaj, learn speaking of read. The master teacher will be happy to see him, and he knows that we love him because we fight hard for his freedom. With love and unity, our shield is the key to the sanctuary of Yahweh. Shanus Kawun Tz'abaət. What does this mean? That means he has his own land, away from gossip and slander, evil, tripping and power. What you need to be worried about the meteorite showers and them fireballs knocking down them walls. It's over, y'all. Me one Babylon fall. In other words, get out the way. And when Baba comes home, we'll build a bigger jamboree. I've visualize the master with diplomatic status, flying back to Africa on a private jet, rocking a Rolex, holding doctrine classes, filled with laughter, teaching online, reaching the masses. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new chapter. We escaped the gun clappers and the natural disasters, and those that mattered us, slandering black devil bastards that thought they had us. I've been dreaming of skimming on leaving the land of demons. Residual is needed. The master teacher gave us tools when he dropped those jewels. The reformer and the warner of this day and time. Just look around and pay attention. You'll see the signs. So what you gonna do when there's a food shortage and no source of income to be supported? Ray was our safe zone. When the master come home, we'll have a new home. World.
This might be the weirdest question that someone's ever asked you, but how often do you poop? And have you ever thought about what exactly your poop is trying to tell you? It might sound gross to be talking about poop, but your pooping routine is vital to good health because all poop is considered toxic by its nature. Some people have pounds and pounds of it just sitting inside of them, rotting away inside their intestines. In this quick video, I'm going to show you the 7 most common types of poop profiles that all people have, according to doctors who conducted a large study of over 2,000 people. Now you can use NoopooH to hit the reset button on your gut. Within just 15 days, you'll have perfect poops every single day.
Well, back. I'm trying to get some paperwork together, guys. So I'm sorry for the delay. It's a music intermission. Sorry for the commercial. But we're gonna get started in a minute. Just trying to get the. I need some paperwork for today's discussion, so I had to do some work on my other computer.
Which would be inclusive of we, I come up with black. That's why you've been trained to see black as a color. You've been trained to see black as a color because they've also given you a definition of black, which is swarthy and bad and ugly and evil and Dracula. And you know what I'm saying? That's a psychological profiling that they've done to monotype a stereotype being. My enemy, they made me and you into one kind of character, bad. They call us stereotypes. Stereo is true. We are stereo beings, God and man, not mono beings. But they have the whole world thinking all black people, liars, thieves, crooks, etc., etc., etc. All that is shaded around identifying black as a color and not as a state of existence on which colors are born. Because blackness is there. Now, whether stars are shining or not, blackness is there. Regardless of the colors of the stars, white stars, red stars, green stars, blue stars, depending on their illumination qualities and what reflects off them, the blackness will remain. When you cut the lights on in the room, the blackness remains. When you cut the light off in the room, the energy is still in the room unless you go downstairs and blow the fuse box out. So the energy of the light is in the room, but the black won't allow it to shine until you turn on a certain switch. Fuse certain things to be exist. Black remains the same at all times. But all the other colors are in the light. When the light comes on, the chaos stops.
Well back. Greetings, everybody. We're about to get started here. And just greetings. Let's see. Okay. But we send out our peace and blessings to everybody. Okay, let's see. Just getting started. Just put it down. I can't can't read it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'll deal with it in a minute. All right, so let's see where we at here. Okay. Okay, guys. Again, sorry for the delay, and just trying to get some stuff. I'm looking for a file, but all is good. So again, Wu-țabară, Muisar. Want to thank you guys for coming out again. Today is another discussion of NoopooH Live. Okay, for those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malakazi K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture that we identify as Wu-Sabat. Also, we known as Wu-ņabaṭ. And Wu-Sabat stands for those who make based on a tweet. And in essence, Wu-Sabat is about also is a culture that identified us as Black people, we're really here as children of the sun, right? And so we argue that the problems that Black people are dealing with around the globe is due to the fact that we got away from our original culture that kept us in tune and in harmony with natural nature. And we have been, for the last 6,000 years, been living out of harmony with natural nature. And anyone who lives, then chaos is the only result of that lifestyle, which is what we see around the globe today. The globe is chaos. For when culture is those who live adverse to nature itself, those who ignore nature, and that is unfortunately the culture of the Western world. They ignore nature, and there's a heavy price to pay. And all the natural disasters that the planet has been dealing with is a result of this perpetuation of these types of cultures. In fact, it was prophesied in the Bible. If anyone read the book of Matthew, chapter 24, it talks about the last days and the signs of the times, and we're living that. It's a reality. And so we argue that Wu-Sabat is a solution to all of these problems that we're dealing with on the planet, is getting back in harmony with nature again, being at one with nature. And we argue that Black people will continue to struggle and suffer until they come to this realization. And so I'm just one of many student teachers of the master teacher who is trying to re-educate our people about us getting back in harmony with nature again, which is what we identify as Wu-Sabat or Wu-ņabaṭ. Huh? Oh, you guys having a hard time? Is that for everybody? Press 1 if there's an issue with the sound. and or press 2 if the sound is okay. Press 1 if the sound is bad. Press 2 if the sound is okay. 1 is sound. What what happens when so that's usually when the sound starts to mess up is due to the fact of there's some kind of internet interference. So let's see. Okay, it's still going in and out. The sound is going in and out. Let's see. Yeah, they don't give us too many troubleshooting options on the software that I'm using when we're having sound problems. I wish there were some more options. Okay, so guys, press 2. Press 2 if the sound is okay. Press 2 if the sound is okay. Press 2. Just checking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If the sound is okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Jetna 4. Okay. That's good. Okay. All right. So again, if I was all glitchy, I'll do that again. For those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Teptu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture. We identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-ṭabaʄ, which means those who live in harmony with natural nature. We keep arguing that Black people are suffering is due to the fact that we're living in adverse cultures. And the only way for us to fix our problems is for us to get back to the cultures that connected us with nature again, right? For us to be in harmony with natural nature. That is the ultimate goal. And so that is what our focus is. That's what we teach. That's the purpose of our doctrine. Is to re-educate our people. So I'm just, like I said, I'm one of many teachers who is dedicated to re-educating our people about our ancient culture of Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-ṭabaʄ. And I recommend everybody, I say this all the time, to watch. We have a lot of lectures on here, a lot of videos. So I recommend guys watch the videos. Definitely watch them more than once. It's extraordinarily important that you watch the videos more than once. Okay. Our doctrine is not, it's to be studied. It's to be analyzed so that you can begin to apply it. You cannot apply information if one does not truly comprehend the information. And in order to comprehend the information, you have to study the information. And in order to study the information, you have to, research it, consistently. So I always stress this reality. So again, definitely take the time out to watch our lectures. And there's so many. Watch them all, not some of them on our channel, but watch them all. As well as you guys have to read the books. So I always recommend we put out, they said the master teacher has we probably have close to 1,000 books that we put out in the last 50 years. So we have books, unlimited amount of data, right? An unlimited amount of data. So guys, you have to study. This information will not work if the individual does not study. I can't stress that enough, guys. Take it from my experience, from someone who's been doing this for 3 decades. If you want to really develop yourself and achieve the things I'm talking about, you have to study the information in detail. Now, with that being said, as everyone knows, we do our ritual prayers, right? At the beginning of all of our discussions, before we get into our subject matter. Prayer is important because Spiritual practices, our culture, just so you know, is about spiritual development. We argue that the issues with Black people in Wu-Sabat is that we lost our spiritual knowledge and we have to be re-educated spiritually. And prayer, chanting, meditation is all a part of spiritual development to redevelop yourself. And we do the prayers in our language, or we call it lahaj, because tones is important. Prayer is not so much what you say, but it's the tones in which you say it, right? It's the tones in which you say what you're saying. It's the tones of everything. So it's not only what you're saying, but it's also the tones. That's why language is key. English, Black, we speak in foreign languages hurts us tremendously, guys. I can't stress that enough. But let's get started. Abdul Kalam Namasat with Bazun Ahmad Kasam and Afar Pa Pa'ut. Anuki Jawab Pa Ashuk M Pa Pa'ut. Wu Kala Ashuk Kawun Jawaf Naya. Anuki Kasaman M Pa Pa'ut. Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Kasaman M Naya. Anuki Wahu Ama Pa Pa'ut. Wu Pa Pa'ut Kawun Wahu Ama Naya. Nakuk Kador Naju Ama Kasaman M Pa Pa'ut. Wu Khabub Ama Shikasun. Nakuk Kador Kawan Kalab Pafaf Nakuk Daya Jawab Pa Pa'ut. Ama Wasu Ama Dayani Kawun Lake Bakui Jawab Pa Pa'ut. Anuki Yabab Bina Fasni. Pa Pa'ut Kawun. Anuki. Pa Pa'ut Kador. Nakuk Kador. Pa Pa'ut Amu. Nakuk Amu. Lahehun Manahnun. Layahun Manahnun. Ahumata Karehun. Ahumata Karekun. Ahumata Karenun. Ahumata Jawafnaya. Ahumata Nayawu Anuki Hum. Ye Asher Koree. Asmua Jayenun. Ye Unataru Afuknun. Anunata Karaukum. Ye Unataru Afuknun. Afuknun Afuknun. Ye Unataru Nun. Anun Atun Atun Amun. Namazo Wahu. Ye Umafaku. Yehu Yehu. Ye Unataru. Yasaye Yasaye. Ye Unataru. Yehika Yehika. Ye Unataru. And Kumata Pa Mufaku. Yehu, Yehu, Yeunataru, Ankum ata pa mufaku, Wu anunata Karaukum, Wu ankum ata Yasanun, Yehu, Yehu, Yeunataru, Akfush Muklasnum, Atum Bree, Yehu, Yehu, Yeunataru, Namazo Atu, Akfush Anhu, Yeu Mukdam U Akfudnun. And kumana yakala duda salafunun. Wu yasaunun. Mana yaka sawura pa ba. Mana yaka kawuna ka. Mana yaka ataacha. Mana yaka kawuna basha wu damam. Ye unataru mukdam unun. Akfush muftadnun. Anhu kawun maza mana pa nataru. Akfush anhu. Anhu kawun baba yananun akfush anhu. Anhu kawun matum re'e akfush anhu. Anhu kawun khafush. Namazo talu. Ye unataru salafunun. Akfuknun manapa mujwa'u. Akfutnun manata kuwan. Ye unataru akfutnun manasaya gayara. Akfutnun akfutnaya. Akfutnun akfutnaya. Ye unataru nun. Namazo rabu pa tashun. Nakuk talub tashun bi pa nataru. Manapa la enlui tananu. Kalaranam atni atalaha pa nataru. Wu kalana mazo atni atalaha kayat iatnun laya pa nataru. Pasawa wu pa tarak. Panan safa kawun. Pasara wu pa tarak. Z kawuna nazula laha ankum mana saba'at Wu-Sabat. Ama hadayan wu shafa'un mana salafukum wu nadaru. Ajulaya nafasukum. Afuk shina kawunkum. Pa sawab wu pa tarak. Pa hadayan wu pa shafe. Anun tawo ankum. Lehe Penen Shafe Wu Alaj, and Nun Tawa Enkum, Lehe Tim Nasuinun, and Nun Tawa Enkum, Lehe Ashuk Kuma, and Kum at the Salafunun, and Nun at the Khara Ukum, and Kum Talub Nasa Kuma, and Nun Talub Nasa Kuma, and so Nun Sayam Nataru, and so Nun Salafunun, and Nun at the Musbatu. Anun, Atun, Atun, Amun. Ye Nataru Nun. Ye Muftau, Ye Nataru, Ye Atum Re, Ye Nata, Ye Nun, Ye Nata, Ye Nuta, Ye Natata, Ye Ha, Ye Nata, Ye Hata, Ye Natata, Ye Kak, Ye Nata, Ye Kakta, Ye Natata, Ye Amun, Ye Nata, Ye Munta, Ye Natata, Ye Umufkemui, Ye Nataru, Ye Atum Ye Nata, Ye Shawa, Ye Nata, Ye Tafaf Nata, Ye Natata, Ye Sabab, Ye Nata, Ye Nata, Ye Natata, Ye Ashta, Ye Natata, Ye Asa, Ye Nata, Ye Nabab Tahata, Ye Natata, Ye Satak, Ye Nata, Ye Hara, Ye Nata, Natara Shalil Pa Meye, Ye Habtu, Ye Nata, Ye Nakta, Ye Natata, Ye Ha Haratu, Ye Nata, Natara Shalil Pa Nawa, Ye Nafatu, Ye Nata, Ye Mantu, Ye Nata, Ye Babti, Ye Nata, Ye Sechem Tat, Ye Nata, Ye Hata Harata, Ye Nata, Ye Ba Ibish, Ye Nata, Ye Fa, Ye Nata, Ye Basa, Ye Nata, Ye Imhata, Ye Nata, Natara Shalil Pa Hawe, Ye Anhu, Ye Nata, Ye Mata, Ye Nata, Ye Mahat, Ye Nata, Ye Khafre, Ye Nata, Ye Miskanat, Ye Nata, Ye Horayeta, Ye Nata, Ye Kintimentu, Ye Nata, Ye Hika, Ye Nata, Ye Natata, Ye Natata, Ye Ma'at, Ye Natata, Ye Renanta, Ye Natata, Ye She, Ye Natata, Ye Sasha, Ye Natata, Ye Mafta, Ye Natata, Natara Shalil Pa Taha, Ye Sabak, Ye Nata, Ye Nap, Ye Nata, Ye Khanum, Ye Nata, Ye Khanash, Ye Nata, Ye Fanun, Ye Nata, Ye Saye, Ye Nata, Ye Hakta, Ye Natata, Ye Amash, Ye Nata, Ye Surabtu, Ye Nata, Ye Atum Hore, Ye Natata, Ye Dahutu, Ye Nata, Ye Fawarat, Ye Natata, Ye Sakata, Ye Natata, Ye Ha, Ye Nata, Ye Naheb Ka'a, Ye Nata, Ye Saka, Ye Nata, Ye Ba'a, Ye Nata, Ye Aka, Ye Nata, Ye Mharata, Ye Natata, Ye Wapavata, Ye Nata, Ye Sakahatapta, Ye Natata, Ye Meritat, Sakata, Ye Natata, Ye Sayeta, Ye Natata, Ye Garata, Ye Natata, Ye Sa Inu, Ye Nata, Ye Bahata, Ye Natata, Ye Khanamta, Ye Natata, Ye Manakta, Ye Natata, Ye Khamam, Ye Nata, Ye Mehatwi, Ye Nata, Ye Kabef Sanan Afaf, Ye Nata, Ye Da Mata Afaf, Ye Nata, Ye Marita, Ye Natata, Ye Nasat, Ye Nata, Ye Mtadata, Ye Natata, Ye Nakakwata, Ye Natata, Ye Sakata, Ye Natata, Ye Anakta, Ye Natata, Ye Dada, Ye Nata, Ye Tum, Ye Nata, Ye Wahu, Ye Nata, Ye Yasas, Ye Nata, Ye Naku, Ye Nata, Ye Aftu, Ye Nata, Ye Satat, Ye Natata, Ye Sakatu, Ye Nata, Ye Ma'at, Ye Nata, Ye Nana, Ye Nata, Ye Mnuet, Ye Nata, Ye Msatatu, Ye Nata, Ye Mukdaltat, Ye Natata, Ye Vrahashafaf, Ye Nata, Ye Meratu, Ye Nata, Ye Mun Hore, Ye Nata, Yehu Anun Ata Kaleh Jawaf Ba'ut Nun Re Tun Re Tun Re Mun Re Yeah. Amun. Jennifer. Okay. For those who are new or not familiar with our prayer system, as you just noticed, at the end of that, we do a chant after the prayer system. The whole purpose is recalibration, right? It's about recalibrating your what we call your morphic field. And what that means is our bodies are vibrating at a certain density level, okay? And in order to make contact with your ancestors, in order to open up your third eye, in order to what we call resurrection, you have to raise your morphic field. You have to increase your vibration. And this is the purpose of the rituals. The purpose of the prayers, the chanting, the meditation is about recalibrating your morphic field. It's actually designed to raise your vibration. So as you start doing it, you'll start feeling the energy centers begin to stimulate. Okay, you'll start feeling the energy centers start to stimulate. So like when I start going to like the chanting, you're chanting Amun, you'll actually feel it. Like you can feel it right here in the center of the forehead. That is stimulating that energy center there, and other parts of the body will begin to feel it. Like what you'll find is like you'll feel the energy stream moving down your spine. Okay, so there's certain glands and energy centers in the body that begin to activate once you start doing the rituals. Okay, it takes a while. I would say anyone who practice consistently and seriously for about 3 months, you'll see those effects. You'll definitely have those experiences and begin to see those effects. And so, this is the purpose of the ritual. So I definitely want to make that clear. You guys need to really understand it and why I do it. Make it my business to do it at the beginning of all of our discussions, because to get you guys to introduce it to you guys, to get you guys used to it, to get you guys to hopefully so you guys begin to see the importance of it. It's not some weird thing you see religious people do, because they don't do it for spiritual development, because they don't understand the science of it. So I'm trying to explain to you guys the science of rituals, why we do these rituals. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so now let's get into, every week we talk about the core principles of Wu-Sabat / Wu-ṭabară, all of our discussions. If you guys, anyone who knows anything about the lectures we do, it's all based around the core principles. Okay, you guys must understand these core principles. You must master these core principles. They're more than just words that I'm reading. They have to be implemented into your life. That's why I keep going over it week after week after week, and I build our lectures around it until you start implementing it into your life. You begin to see the effects of living the culture of Wu-Sabat. You guys have to live it. You can't read about it and think about it. You have to live it, right? And so that's why I do these things. Okay, so principle number 1 is Ashak. It stands for the power of love. This is the actual, what we call the non-ether force that you all must learn to tap into. Okay, this is how you restore your spiritual abilities. By you first have to tap into this divine force of Ashak. Okay. Principle number 2 is resurrection. This is the whole goal of being a Sabian, is to resurrect, right? To become goddesses and gods once again by reopening your third eye and becoming in tune with our ancestors who exist on the higher dimensions. We have been cut off, and you guys have to learn how to make connection once again. Okay. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri and Ma'at. We did lectures on that. So for those who are not familiar with it, watch it. If you only watch it once or twice or even 3 times, watch it again. Watch these lectures, guys. The Hutri stands for our divine mind. Ma'at stands for order. Okay. Number 4 is relationships. As African people, we live of, for, and by each other. We always lived in a community. We don't live through, our culture is not capitalism, not socialism, it's not communism, it's none of the isms that was created by the Europeans. Our culture is community living, okay? Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance deals with sound, color, vibrations, frequencies. It is the energies that grew, this is how the universe creates. And it produces or forms what we call matrices. Matrices, the manifestation of things by way of the morphic resonance. Okay. Principle number 6 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional body. Your spirit is your life force. Guys, watch the lectures we did on that. Principle number 7 is Leviathan. Leviathan equals moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. Okay, we did a discussion on that. That's Leviathan's who we at war with, guys. Principle number 8 is health, right? And the key to health is 1, a positive mind, much sunlight. As melanated people, we need a lot of sunlight, right? We need water. Body is 70% water. Fasting at least 1 or twice out of the week. Fasting, right? Your body needs rest from eating. We recommend the herbal diet, Dr. Sebi diet, for those who know him. Exercise is key. Learning rhythmic breathing. This is also how you develop your energies through the practice of rhythmic breathing. We have a book on that called The Breath Book, guys. You need to study that book, master it. And then you have meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. Okay, all of those are key to health. Health is not just physical, but it's also spiritual. That's what makes a complete being. Is your spiritual body is in harmony with your physical body. That's our goal. Principle number 9 is Pa'ut, right? Pa'ut stands for the creative force. It just means all, right? All is. Pa'ut, the creative force. And it's based on what we call the smat. The smat is nature, existence is based on cycles, perpetual cycles. And the energies of Pa'ut we call ach. It translates to ether, okay? Now, for those who become students of Wu-Sabat, you have 3 obligations or 3 goals, right? Goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. So goal number 1 is in raising yourself. We always say it's like becoming born again, like Christians teach, giving up your old culture for your new culture, which is Wu-Sabat, right? You got to give up the old ways for the new ways. And the first goal is you got to correct your name, right? You got to take on a Sabaean name. So that's step 1. Make it known to all. You must correct how you look and your dress. That's important. You must learn our language, which is Sabaean. You must study our doctrine. That's key, guys. You got to study the doctrine each and every day. And you must practice and master the daily rituals. That's also extremely important, is to master and practice the daily rituals, okay, for spiritual development in order to reach your goal of resurrection. And the key to this is always be positive, right? There's nothing you're going to get done unless you have a positive mind. So that's just the reality. Number 2 is fight Leviathan. This includes working to free Panabab Yananin. And that's one of our biggest fights right now with Leviathan. Also fighting Leviathan is promoting Wu-Sabat, right? Become a student teacher like what I'm doing, and fight the strongest, 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, right? Leviathan feeds off of your ignorance, your fears, your lust, your lies, your slander, and your gossip. If you notice, Western culture is based around these 6 principles. So that lets you know we're living a culture of Leviathan. That's why we say we have to give it up for our original culture. Number 3 is work to build Sabbatia. We work to support each other in businesses. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panathardo in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government. And Ashak is the key to accomplish all our goals, guys. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabaean? A Sabaean is someone who is thoughtful and cares, someone who is honest and helpful, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice, someone who is righteous, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is clean, and someone who is kind and considerate. Now, our purpose. Our purpose is liberation from adverse forces. So this is what, every student of Wu-Sabat is supposed to be fighting to liberate ourselves from adverse forces, from leviathan, right? That's our goal. So number one, you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirits. So many of our people are possessed, and we got to get away from them. We got to get away from them. This is why we're teaching to help them, but you can't be around those kind of people because you will get possessed. So you got to understand that. The other way we fight is acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting, right? We have to fight them from promoting. They promote capitalism. They promoting the gay agenda. They're promoting miscegenation and the so-called equality of the races. White people have been talking about equality for I don't know how long, but yet they have all the power and we have nothing. So that's not equality. And they have no intentions of changing. So I don't know why our people keep falling for that lie. Equality means you have your stuff and they have theirs. And that's why as Sabians, we're working to do our own things for us, right? Stop begging people for things. And then number 3, learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. That's important, okay? Also, word of advice. I added this, guys, word of advice. Do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panabab nor his students, guys. This is important. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka affirmation, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication. So again, you judge this information by how it's able to benefit you in your life. And I'm telling you this from experience because I've seen so many people make this mistake. They get caught into judging and looking at others. What are you doing? What is he doing? What's she doing? Why she ain't doing it? So why should I do it? Guys, you will self-destruct if you get caught into that energy. And so many people have. Your goal is to take the information and apply it into your life. If you're the only one on the planet doing it, then that so be it. That's all it means. It's about you developing yourself. Okay. And so I can't stress that enough. All right. Now, today's discussion is about what is the purpose of Wu-Sabat. I think this is an important discussion, especially on the things we got into last week, guys. Last week's discussions made me realize I need to home in on this particular subject matter, on this topic. Real important. Guys, we did, as a reminder, okay, because a lot of things we talked about last week, I actually addressed a lot of that information in our lectures that we did. Let's see. Let me find the lectures that we did, and for you guys to see. We did a whole bunch of lectures a while ago, and this was on who is Dr. York, right? So all of these lectures over here, who is Dr. York? I actually started with episode 1. If you guys watch episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, the first 5 episodes, we focused on who is Dr. York. Guys, you got to watch that, because a lot of the things we were talking about last week is in these episodes. I went into great detail about a lot of stuff. And so that's that's important. But now, you guys had any questions? You guys said some stuff here. What is people talking about? What are we talking about? Let's see. Okay, so T Tiger. All right. So T Tiger said to get the books on Amazon. Yeah, we're gonna get books. All right. Let me ask you guys this question. Who in here have been actually reading any of the books? If anyone has been reading any books, please press 1 for yes, and press no, you haven't been reading any of the books. That's important for me to know. And so, guys, please respond to that, because I need to press 1 for yes, 2 for no. For those who have been reading books that we put out, it's very important you guys start to read the books. So I can't stress that enough. See. See. So so great. So it's great to see that you guys responding that you guys have been reading. That's it. That's really important. In fact, if you guys, all you guys who have been reading, can you write the title? I'm putting you on the spot, but if you can write the title of the book that you guys have been reading, for those who have been reading, if you guys can write the title of the book that you guys have been reading, that's extremely important. Remember, it's not so much reading a book, it's about learning the culture and being able to apply the culture into your daily lives. Guys, you understand. Let's go back to one of our principles, right? And so the goal of what we're supposed to be working towards is, when we say one of our goals is to rebuild Sabbatia, right? That's the name of our landmass we call Sabbatia, and because that's the place where we as Sabaeans. Now, if we can convert all Sabaeans, all black people really here are Sabaeans by blood, not Sabaean by culture, and we're trying to educate our people to be Sabaean by culture and lifestyle. And so wherever we live, it would be called Sabbatia. Okay. And so we used to have our own land that unfortunately the government took from us, and we have to re-get land back, and preferably on a continent is what we're talking about. So because if you guys are serious, if you guys want to get away from, I keep talking about Leviathan, I keep talking about Western culture. Well, if we're going to keep talking about how bad something is, we're supposed to be working towards getting away from it. Because then what's the point of all these discussions if we're going to keep staying in the same conditions, right? The law of conditions teach us what? As long as the conditions are the same, the results will always be the same, guys. So we can't complain about something or talk about how bad something is if we're not willing to do anything about it. And so we cannot even consider setting up our own land and living together until we all agree. We have to be on the same page. We all have to agree on the culture and the lifestyle, because keep in mind, we all of us was raised here in the West, or different parts of the planet. And we were raised under different lifestyles and cultures and opinions and folk and concepts, and trying to bring people together under those premises who have different ideas of how they should live, that is not going to work. I can tell you that from experience, that is not going to work. The only way we're going to be able to come together and create a community if we all agree on the cultural concepts. And we cannot agree on the cultural concepts if you guys do not know them and you're not implementing them into your lives. And how could you know the cultural concepts if you're not studying the doctrine? So this is the point, right? These are the points that this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to do my part. My job is to help explain the information as you guys study the information, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make the information make more sense. I'm trying to help you guys comprehend what we're putting in the books. So that's why you guys should be reading and studying the books and asking detailed questions pertaining to that. And so that's why I do the lectures surrounding our culture, our doctrine. And so I hope the lectures are helping you guys in your reading. In fact, for those who are reading the books, can you guys press 1 if my lectures are helping you comprehend the books, and press 2 is you're not really sure yet. So 1 if the lectures are helping you comprehend the books, or 2 if you're not sure. And T Tiger, your no, is that no for me? Let's see. That's good, Allison. Yeah, the YouTube channel NoopooH, they're uploading the books on YouTube also for free. It's in audio form, so they're reading the books out for those who, are want to listen to the audios. Okay, so that's great to hear, guys. That our lectures are helping, because that's why we're doing the lectures, is to help you guys on your journey, right? So I'm really glad. So I'm really glad that we're helping out there. Okay, so let's try to get into today's topic then, in particular. So we're talking about what is the purpose of Wu-Sabat. And as a reminder, I got to say it one more time, guys. Guys, please, y'all must study those videos that I did on who is Dr. York. You guys have to get those videos down pat. You got to understand that information. What's the point in studying about, someone's reading someone's information and you're not totally, understanding the individual who Dr. York is? That's why I did those videos, right? We did 5 videos on a master teacher, so that I tried to address any kind of question you guys can think of. I tried my best. Greetings, Tarbuna. You can ask any question provided is positive. Remember that, my beloved sister. We do everything in the power of love. So, provided the questions are positive, it's we everyone, our forum, and what we're doing here is open to anybody. I thank you guys. Thank all of those that the lectures have been helping. So again, before I get started, anyone who wants to ask a question, I will address, any particular questions. I definitely will. And so, yes, anyone can ask questions. Tarbuna, definitely you can ask. Anyone can ask questions if you want, or I'm going to get started with my discussion. Okay. I guess everybody's pausing. All right. So let's get started, guys. So we're saying, what is the purpose of Wu-Sabat, right? What is the purpose of Wu-Sabat? So, question. What should all students of Wu-Sabat understand about our culture, right? Okay, T Tiger. That is true, T Tiger. That is true. But keep in mind, there's a lot that went into how that all happened, how they took the land from us. This is why we are saying the next community we're setting up on a continent more than likely, right? So we're changing location. It was the location. I'll be honest with you. It was the location. It was a lot of extenuating circumstances with the land. But in particular, United States has that COINTEL program going on. For those who are familiar with it, guys, if you guys let me ask you that question real quick. Is anybody press 1 if you're familiar with the COINTEL program, press 2 if you're not familiar with it. So if anyone is familiar with the COINTEL program by the United States government, press 1, or press 2 if you're not familiar with the COINTEL program. Okay. Now, for those who are not familiar with the COINTEL program, real quick, there is a report called the Church Report. In fact, I'll bring it up for you guys on YouTube. Okay, it's called the Church Report. There was I believe he was a senator or congressman. I believe he was Senator Church. Here you go, the Church Report of 1975. Okay, so this was he was a senator. Okay, and in the Church Report, this is the hearings.
We have a particular obligation to examine the NSA in light of its tremendous potential for abuse. It has the capacity to monitor the private conversations of American citizens without the use of a bug or a tap. The interception of international communication signals sent through the air is the job of NSA, and thanks to modern technological developments, it does its job very well. The danger lies in the ability of the NSA to turn its awesome technology against domestic communications.
40-year-old video of the Church Committee's work. That was the chairman of the committee, Frank Church of Idaho, and immediately to his right is the then 39-year-old chief counsel to the committee, Fritz Schwartz, who is our guest joining us throughout this series. He's with us in New York. Elliot Maxwell here in Washington, D.C. Now, today, in the wake of 9/11, the NSA is something of a household word for.
Okay, I'll stop right there. The church, what is the Church Report? The Church Report was a report by this senator, Mr. Church, where he, in essence, exposed that the United States intelligence agencies, the FBI and the CIA, were monitoring any organizations that they identify as radical. And obviously, they identify all Black organizations as radical. And so they not only monitored these organizations, but they also coordinated how they will disable the organization, how they will either discredit the leadership or try to imprison the leadership or assassinate the leadership. And this is how it started. Actually, it goes all the way back. Started with Marcus Garvey. That's how they got Marcus Garvey. In fact, the whole way they brought down Marcus Garvey was through. This was the beginning of the FBI, and this is one of the first assignments of the I was going to say ruler, but the head of the FBI a guy by the name of J. Edgar Hoover. For those who know who J. Edgar Hoover is, press 1. For those who do not know who he is, press 2. Because if you do not know, please research who this man is. For those who know who J. Edgar Hoover is, press 1. For those who do not know who J. Edgar Hoover is, press 2. It's very important. Okay, he's one of the founders of the FBI. He is one of the founders of the FBI. Okay, in fact, most of your politicians, this is going back to the 1920s, guys. So J. Edgar Hoover was in charge of the FBI thing all the way up for like 50 years, up to like 1970s. Okay. So between the FBI and the CIA, their whole job was to destabilize all black organizations. So they destabilized. They're the ones who set up, what's his name? Noble Drew Ali. They set up Noble Drew Ali. They imprisoned him, right? Because Noble Drew Ali was also charged with child molestation in the early 1920s, for those who do not know. They set him up, okay, and they killed him. They supposedly released him out of prison, and then they assassinate him before he can get home. Okay, so so for those who know, they set up Marcus Garvey, they imprisoned him, and then they deported him from the country. For those who know, they set up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They put him in prison. Okay, they were putting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in prison, who started the Nation of Islam, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not want to send his children to the public school systems, and so they was arresting him for truancy, for not sending their children into the public school systems. Right? So I'll address that, T Tiger. So, that's very important, guys. And their COINTELPRO, this program, they called it the COINTELPRO program, the Church Report, explaining how they were responsible for the assassination of Malcolm X. They were responsible for the assassination of Martin Luther King. They was responsible for the assassination of Medgar Evers. I can go on and on, guys. You guys see the movie? What's that movie about Fred Hampton? What is that? The Black Judas, or Judas and the Black Messiah? That movie they just put out about how they had him assassinated. Right? They just murdered him, Fred Hampton. For those who did not see the movie, guys, go check out the movie. They murdered a lot of brothers who was in the Black Panther Party, or put them in jail, set them up and put them in jail. Okay, so this is how the people found out that the government, the Church Report, guys, do your research, because I just showed it to you. The Church Report is how people found out that the government was doing covert operations against the people. Okay, so another thing, have you guys ever heard of a guy by the name of Bobby Seals? Press 1 if you heard of Bobby Seals. Press 2 if you never heard of Bobby Seals. Guys, have you ever heard of a guy by the name of Bobby Seals? Press 1 if you've heard of him, and press 2 if you have not heard of Bobby Seals. Okay, for those who've heard of, I'm not talking about. Oh, am I saying the wrong name? I don't mean Bobby Seals from the Black Panthers. Let's see. How you spell his name? No, I'm sorry, not him, Bobby Seals. Bobby, what's his name? Not Bobby Seals. Wow, not him. Yeah, he was a part of the Black Panthers, not that one. Let's see. What's that movie? It was a movie. Barry Seals. Press 1 if you ever heard of Barry Seals. Press 2 if you never heard of Barry Seals. Press 1 if you heard of Barry Seals. Press 2 if you never heard of Barry Seals. It's Barry Seals, guys. Press 1 if you heard of Barry Seals. Press 2 if you never heard of Barry Seals. Press 1 if you heard of Barry Seals. Press 2 if you never heard of Barry Seals. Who is Barry Seals? You guys need to study him. Here, Tom Cruise, he did a movie on Barry Seals. It was a horrible movie because they didn't do not half of what Bobby Seals was into. Okay, so you see, Tom Cruise did a movie called American Made. Anyone seen this movie? American Made? It was about the life of Bobby Seals. It was a horrible movie because they told like maybe 10% of the truth about Bobby Seals. They didn't tell a half about this man. They didn't tell a half about Listen, guys, Bobby Seals worked for the CIA. That's what they didn't tell. Bobby Seals worked for the CIA. And what was Bobby Seals' job for the CIA? Bobby Seals' job for the CIA was to traffic cocaine into the United States. That was his sole purpose. Hired by the CIA, and his job was to traffic cocaine into the United States in the 70s and 80s. This was the job of Bobby Seals, to spread cocaine into the American public. Why did they do this? They did this. This is about the secret government. Press 1 if you're familiar with the secret government. Press 2 you're not familiar about what the secret government is. Press 1 for those who are familiar with what the secret government is. Press 2 for those who are not familiar with the secret government. Okay. Now we put out, the master teacher wrote a series of books called Leviathan. We wrote a series of books. The master teacher wrote like 6 editions of the book Leviathan. The first edition of Leviathan came out in 1971. That was the first edition of Leviathan. Okay. And the books of a Leviathan is dealing, most of the information in books of Leviathan is dealing with the secret government. Most of the books in Leviathan is dealing with the secret government. The reason I'm asking about if you're familiar with the secret government is because Barry Seals was an operative for the secret government. He worked for the secret government. And so his assignment was to traffic cocaine into the United States for the purpose of raising money for the secret government. That's what he did. That was his job, to traffic cocaine into the United States. So it's important you guys know who Bobby Seals is. Okay. Are you guys, press 1 if you guys are familiar, when it was exposed that the CIA was trafficking drugs and guns into the black community, because the head of the CIA had to come and speak at a town hall meeting trying to convince black people that black people wasn't targeted. Is you guys familiar with that? Because they had hearings on it where the head of the CIA had to come to the black community in California trying to say that the CIA wasn't doing that. If anybody's familiar with that. Huh? No, Ron King, not not Bobby Seals. I was wrong. It was Barry Seals. It was Barry Seals. It's right on my screen. You guys can see it. Barry Seals. So CIA, right, selling drugs and they had it. This was how can I say? It was public news. This is not hidden that this is what they were doing, guys. So listen to this. Listen to this.
That's my old bill, $972.
Commercial.
My new one, $28 a month. Or if I
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
For decades, the American government has been accused of intentionally flooding the streets with hard drugs. The CIA and law enforcement have supposedly been funneling drugs into the inner cities and to the African American community in particular as part of a covert effort to stop them attaining stability, building wealth, and achieving political power.
It is aimed at African American. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And for the other non-African people, they should know that this directly will harm them too.
These ideas took particular hold in the 1980s with the emergence of the so-called crack epidemic. It's easy to understand how people of color may not believe the US authorities have their best interests at heart. But do these particular drug charges stick? Did the intelligence agencies actually play a role in flooding American cities with cocaine? In this episode, we're exploring whether the CIA was actually responsible for the crack epidemic and how exactly this story gained so much traction.
So is anybody familiar with that? Were you guys aware that this was public knowledge that the CIA was trafficking drugs into black communities? That's right. To kill the messenger. That they did a movie on that. Spiritual Warrior. That's right. That movie. Because they actually killed the reporter who exposed that. So that's good. So you guys know what we're up against, right? So the COINTEL program, this is what the master teacher got caught up in, right? The COINTEL program on how the government's goal is to subvert any and all black organizations. That's their goal, right? That's their goal. That's what we're up against, right? So it's no mystery. There is no mystery here. That we're fighting, it's Leviathan. I mean, it's Leviathan. That's what we're at war with, right? These are 6 ether spirit forces that we're at war with, and the Caucasian race are the embodiment of those 6 ether forces. These are spirit forces, and who are adverse to natural nation. Now think about this. This is the government selling drugs to the people. The government is in the business of selling drugs and got the nerve to lock people up for selling drugs. This is the craziness of what we live in. The government will lock you up for committing murder, but they commit murder each and every day. They go around killing people each and every day, but you can't kill people. So I'm trying to understand that kind of thinking. Why do the people stand for that? The government, they be dropping bombs on people every day with their drones and killing all kinds of people. No one says nothing about that. But if I go around killing people because I feel somebody's getting on my nerves, I gotta go to jail. Now, how can the same people who go around killing people put me in jail for killing somebody? This is the kind of craziness that we're living in. But guys, we support this. We support this silliness. We'll sit there and get upset about somebody committing crimes in your area, but y'all don't get upset about how the government commits crimes every day of the week. That's the backwards thinking that we're dealing with, guys. That's right. Government is the mafia. And so this is what we're up against. We're up against with this insanity of we live in a corrupt system, an unjust system, right? And this unjust system is happening all over the planet. It's happening all over the planet. This insanity is all over the world. All right, so let me get back to our topic, right? So Wu-Sabat. What is the purpose of Wu-Sabat? Question: what should all students of Wu-Sabat understand about our culture? Answer: all students of Wu-Sabat are obligated to fight Leviathan in all its forms, right? All students of Wu-Sabat must be aware and study the UFO phenomenon and how it relates to ourselves and life on Earth, guys. That's important. And all students must be working on a solution of how we can set up our own system of tribal rules and a location to practice our culture. So let's get back to the second one, right? So says question, what should all students of Wu-Sabat understand about our culture? So all students of Wu-Sabat must be aware and study the UFO phenomena and how it relates to ourselves and life on Earth. Press 1 for those who studying the UFO phenomenon. Press 2 that you're really not studying it. And I'm talking about really researching the UFO phenomenon. I'm not talking about watching a UFO film here and there. I mean, we're doing some real research. Press 1 if you're reading the subject matter. If you're doing research on the UFO phenomenon, press 2 if you're really not doing any research on the subject matter. Because black people as a whole are way too ignorant when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. It's almost frightening how ignorant we are when it comes to that subject matter, guys, and we can't. Guys, the UFO phenomenon has everything to do with what we're dealing with on this planet. We live in a universe teeming with life. We live in an omniverse, not just a universe. We live in an omniverse of multiple universes teeming with existence, right? We must be knowledgeable about this subject matter. We must be knowledgeable about this subject matter. This is one of the reasons why the government was selling drugs to raise money for their off-world operations. I repeat, one of the reasons why the government was selling drugs was the purpose of raising money for their off-world operations. This government has bases on the moon. This government, or the secret government I'm talking about now, okay, I'm not talking about this government. I'm talking about the secret government who controls all the governments. They have bases on the moons. They have a base on Mars. They're already dealing with off-world projects, right? And you guys know that Trump just created the Space Force. So why would you need a space military if you're not fighting in space? Correct? You know, and that started with Ronald Reagan, right? Ronald Reagan was the one who introduced Star Wars, which was a space defense system to deal with things from space. Right? So that's right, Allison. The government is controlled by the secret government is controlled by ETs. That's very important that we become aware of it. In fact, let me this is something a good breakdown on this. So anybody you guys familiar with this guy, Lou Elizondo? Press 1 if you're familiar with Lou Elizondo. He's on my screen. Press 1 if you're familiar with Lou Elizondo. Press 2 if you're not familiar with him. Press 1 if you're familiar with Lou Elizondo. Press 2 if you're not familiar with him. Okay? He's very important because he was working in the government, and that was his job. It was to study the UFO phenomenon. He was working for the Pentagon. He was a soldier. He's an intelligence officer, so he's one of those spies. And that was his job, to study UFO. Well, his job used to be catch terrorists. Then his job went from catching terrorists and killing them to studying and researching the UFO phenomenon. Okay, so I want you guys to listen to what he has to say on this particular subject. Okay, so it says Lou Elizondo, a former intelligence officer for the Department of Defense, who says he ran the Advanced Aerospace Threat.
Main objective at ATIP.
It was to collect and analyze and try to assess what the things were that we were encountering in controlled U.S. airspace. These were things that weren't ours. We had no idea who they belonged to, and frankly, were displaying beyond next generation technology. For that reason, we decided to stick with two fundamental questions. What is it, and how does it work? And figured if we could make some progress even in one of those areas, that would be considered a victory for us. And then hopefully at some point in the future, let smarter people figure out where is it from, what are the intentions, who's behind the wheel, and whatnot.
What is it? How does it work? Did you come to any conclusions, or at least a best current assessment regarding either of those?
We did with one of them. We had some very, very smart people, scientifically focused individuals with incredible and impeccable credentials, come up with some very interesting theories. And, to the best of our knowledge, that we actually may be a little bit closer to understanding some of the physics and how. So what it is, we still don't know, but I think we are well underway on a path of figuring out how it works and what are the physics involved.
What are the physics involved?
So there's 5.
Listen to this, guys. Pay attention to this.
This is something that is and change directions fairly rapidly. To put that into context, the average human being can withstand about 9 G forces for a short period of time before we start experiencing negative biological consequences, redouts, blackouts, etc. To put that into contrast, an F-16, which is one of our most highly maneuverable aircraft, can perform about 17 Gs before you start having structural failure. Wings begin to snap off. The objects we're seeing are doing 3, 4, 5, 600 Gs. Obviously well beyond the healthy limitations of anything to withstand. The next observable is hypersonic velocity. So let's take this pen again, and this is our airplane. Hypersonic velocities are those speeds that are described at Mach 5 or above. Now, we do have aircraft that can do that, and we have some missiles and some technology. The space shuttle, for example, to get to escape velocity would have to go much faster than that. The SR-71 can, let's say, at 3,200 miles an hour, if it wanted to make, and yet the things we in our low atmosphere and able to do these crazy right angle turns. So that's something pretty obviously.
And you saw this. You saw this.
Yes.
You witnessed this, and that's how you're able to calculate the speeds and maneuverabilities, is because you saw things move that fast.
Well, we calculated through also additional information. So it wasn't just seeing is believing. It's through radar data. There is historical radar data that we have that goes many decades, where these things have been clocked doing 13, 14, 15,000 miles an hour, not just by one radar, multiple radars. The third observable is a bit of an oxymoron, but it's low observability. Now, to put that into perspective, we spend billions of dollars on a single B-2 bomber, just so it's a little bit harder to see on radar. And you can still see it with the naked eye pretty easily. Yet, what we're seeing here are things where the pilots that are trained observers are saying, you know, Lou, I saw it, but I don't know how to describe it because it didn't look like anything we had. It didn't have wings, it didn't have cockpits, rivets, tails, ailerons, elevators, none of that. And yet, there it is. The fourth observable is something we call transmedium travel, which is now only being discussed, but it's been one of the observables for a while. So let's take our analogy. Here's our plane again. A plane looks like a plane because it has to fly. So you have a nose, you have a tail, you have a rudder, you have elevators and ailerons, and you have a jet engine. And yet a rocket ship, which spends most of its time in a vacuum environment, a jet engine's useless, so are wings. So it has a chemical rocket engine, and it has thrusters to maneuver in space. And compared to a submarine, which is not a jet or a rocket, because it's underwater, it has a propeller to mechanically displace water, and it uses buoyancy to go up and down. And to operate in multiple environments, multiple domains, there's a seaplane can fly and it can float, but let's be honest, it's neither a really good plane nor a boat. Are able to operate in our atmosphere, low Earth atmosphere, high Earth atmosphere,
Sorry for the freeze. It's computer glitching, guys.
Without compromising any of their design characteristics. Good vote. It's a compromise, and yet the things that we're seeing are able to operate in our atmosphere, low Earth atmosphere, high Earth atmosphere, Earth orbit, and seemingly underwater, without compromising any of their design characteristics or performance parameters. So that is very significant. And then last but not least, the last observable is what one might call positive lift or anti-gravity. Now, I don't mean anti-gravity in the weird, woo-woo sense. I mean, there's only three fundamental ways that we understand how to defy Earth's gravity. The first one is through flight. So you have four fundamental forces. You have thrust, lift, drag, and weight. And when you know how to manipulate those, you have flight. You have an airplane. With enough energy out of a tube where go up and then eventually come back down. And then the last way we know how to defy Earth's gravity is through lighter than air. Think of a hot air balloon, think of helium or hydrogen, where the air density inside is less than the air density outside, so it floats. It rises, much like oil and water. And yet these things have no wings. They have no obvious signs of propulsion. They don't even look like anything we have, and yet somehow they're able to defy Earth's gravity. And so when you have all of those observables being displayed by a single technology, one begins to realize very quickly that is certainly a paradigm shift to what we're used to dealing with.
Okay, so how much data has been, the public has heard of Nimitz, GoFast, Gimbal, a few other cases just recently in the last few weeks. Probably you could count on two hands. How much is there?
There's a lot. there's significant amount of data. I'm not at liberty to say how much, but enough where I think classified information being provided to certain people, they've come to the same conclusion that we did. And by the way, this information comes in on a regular basis. This isn't anecdotal, happened in the Nimitz and then happened with the Roosevelt and then happened with the kid. This is occurring all the time. You're just hearing about those incidents. It hasn't stopped. So, let's not fool ourselves. People say, well, there's only been 3 incidents and some videos. Well, yeah, that you know of. Sure. You're right. There's a whole lot more too. And in time, hopefully those will come out too.
How often is this happening?
Well, it's hard to say because sometimes there's moments of lots of activity and sometimes there's not, but I would suffice it to say, weekly, if not certainly monthly.
A theory within the intelligence community, within the DoD, is that these UAP could be originating from the world's oceans. Could you speak to that?
It's possible. We don't know. They seem to be around water an awful lot. We know very little about our oceans. We know more about the moon than we do the deepest part.
Now he's talking about the alien crafts or these UFOs, whatever. They see them a lot in the oceans. The master teacher talks about that. If you read the book, the Mission Earth, particular book we put out back in the 90s. I might have that book so you guys can see it. Let me see if I have that particular book. But in that particular book, the master teacher said the reason why they see a lot of these crafts over water is due to the fact that there are bases underneath the ocean, and that's the entrance. So the crafts will go into the water, and that's how they get to their particular bases, because there are, for those who don't know, there's obviously the beings living inside the earth, right? There's beings living in the earth. So, these are all the secrets that the secret government goes out their way to keep hidden from the general public, right? So this is kind of what they do. They keep these things hidden from the general public, and it's pretty yucky, but that's kind of what it is. So the general public, they're getting disclosure little by little. But guys, you have to be familiar with this subject matter. I can't stress this enough, because what we're dealing with on the planet, it goes back to and oh guys, you guys can hear me. Press 1 if the sound is okay. You guys can hear me now. Press 2 if you guys still having a problem hearing me. Press 1 if my sound is okay, and press 2 if you guys are having a problem hearing me. So press 1 if you guys can hear me. Okay, good. I see you guys. Excellent. And so I can't stress it enough, because everything we're dealing with on the planet, it goes back to the Adam and Eve story out of the Bible. I repeat, everything we're dealing with on the planet today goes back to the Adam and Eve story out of the Bible. It is a true story. Just the Bible gave you of the true story of Adam and Eve. I repeat, the Bible gave you nothing but a watered down version of the true story of the Adam and Eve project. Okay? The Bible gave you a watered down version of the true story of the Adam and Eve project. You guys want to do discussions on that, right? On the Bible, and dealing with the origins and what that's really about. The true story of the Adam and Eve project was put in the Sumerian tablets, right? Also, it goes into it in the hieroglyphic scripts in ancient Kemet, put some of these stories out. So a lot of the stuff is, embedded in those stories. The Bible was plagiarized from the Sumerian tablets and the Egyptian mysteries, right? So the Bible was plagiarized, and these were true events. The Adam and Eve story was about a cloning project done on this planet. The Adam and Eve story was about a cloning project that was done on this planet. This was a cloning project that started 49,000 years ago. This was a cloning project. Let me just say this. This Earth had cloning projects going back millions of years, but what we're dealing with on Earth right now is the Adam and Eve project that started 49,000 years ago. So I wanted to make that clear. What we're dealing with, when we talk about what is the purpose of Wu-Sabat, is to understand what we're dealing with. So we said, what is the purpose? You have the whole purpose, and one of the things the master teacher has been trying to explain is this Adam and Eve story, because this Adam and Eve story has everything to do with what's going on the planet today. Okay, the master teacher, we put out a couple of books on the subject matter, right? There was a book we put out back in 1996. Let's see if I can find it for you guys. It was called The 7 Days of Creation. Okay, what is this? I got an error on my internet. Hold on. I don't know what that is. That's pretty yucky. I don't need no virus. If I for you guys. Oh, I can't download. I'm having a problem downloading this file. Wow. Okay, guys, this is a book we put out and oh, I don't know how I can fix that. I gotta figure out how to get that book. You guys need to see this book. We put out this is an older book, and we put out a newer book on the same subject matter. This actual facts right here. So I wanted you guys to see both books because this is a current book, right? The actual facts number 73, okay, and it's dealing with the Mukasu story, the origin of the Caucasian, right? And we go into this project, okay, and so the ETs or the beings that came here, they identified them as the Anunnaki in the Sumerian tablets, right? And they came here to the planet for the purpose of mining operations, resources. And so they decided to set up a cloning project. And this was the Adam and Eve project of cloning. And this is how the Caucasian race came into fruition. They are hybrids, clones. First of all, they're the albino children. I told you guys that they're the albino children of Hindus. And these albino children were taken for genetic manipulation and cloning, for the purpose of cloning. So they were actually cloned, these albino children. And this was the beginning of creating of this particular race. And it's a very detailed discussion, but I need that other book. Many different cloning projects that were there. And so book goes into it, but not on the same level. For whatever reason, I'm sorry that I have to. Yeah, I would. Yeah, well, they can't see the physical copy because, they need to see it on the computer. But this is a very important story, guys. We're gonna get into this Adam and Eve story. Let me just say that the Adam and Eve story is a very true story, but it's not the story that you've been told, right? You have been told the truth about the Adam and Eve story, but the Adam and Eve story is it was about a cloning process that was done on the planet. And so there was multiple cloning operations on this planet. There are multiple cloning operations on this planet. Okay. And the Caucasian race is one of those cloning processes. And so it's important that we're delicate with this information because it's detailed. And so I need to get all the data so that I can show you guys. So being that I don't have it all, I can't go into detail about it. So we'll wait. Well, we will revisit this so that I can go into detail so you can see the comparisons and so that you can understand what's really going on this planet. That's why I said you guys got to become very familiar with the ET phenomenon on this planet who sit there and say ETs are not real, UFOs, all that stuff is whatever, pseudo, blah, 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 because you got a lot of people that say that stuff, but these are the same people that if you ask them, well, what kind of research have you done on the subject? And you'll find out they didn't do any research, but yet they have an opinion. See, that's religion, guys. Religion gets us making decisions based on beliefs and not facts. I taught you that. Remember that. Remember that. Did you study the subject matter? And you kind of find out they didn't study the subject matter, but yet they got all this opinion about it. And that is the effects of what religion did to us. Religion took your reason mind away from you, where it stopped you being able to reason based on natural nature. We just make decisions based on our beliefs and our emotions and not facts. And that's what Wu-Sabat is trying to teach you guys to get away from, right? But you guys, I stress, you guys have to be familiar with this program. So let me keep going here. Real quick. What are some details in fighting Leviathan, right? What are some details in fighting Leviathan? Answer. All students of Wu-Sabat must know that the only way to fight Leviathan is by first opening our third eye, which will restore our dormant senses and make us able to focus outside of persons, places, and things that has trapped our minds, which mentally locks us into the European capitalistic mindset. Okay? So I repeat that. Question. What are some details in fighting Leviathan? Answer. All students of Wu-Sabat must know that the only way to fight Leviathan is by first opening our third eye, which will restore our dormant senses and our minds, which mentally we're locked into what we call the person, places, and things. We can't think outside of our day-to-day constructs because they've locked your mind. They don't teach you how to meditate. They don't teach you how to astral project. They don't teach you how to make contact with higher dimensions. Remember, as an African people, our whole culture was based on spirituality. As African people, we was always in contact with our ancestors who exist on higher dimensions. But this culture has locked our minds where we can't think outside of TVs and cars and houses and vacations and how much money I'm making at my job and when I'm going to get my next raise and what I got to feed my children and what new clothes I'm going to wear. And they got us locked again in person, places, and things. That's what the spell did to us. So we don't even think about, is there life on Mars? Is there life in Jupiter? How do I get there? How do I travel here? How do I experience this lifestyle or whatever, right? They got us locked in a certain mindset. Black people, because of the spell, don't even have the desire to rule themselves. We're so comfortable living in foreign cultures. That's what the spell did. And so you got to break out of that mind, that mind construct, right? So that's one of our purposes, one of our goals. Next thing, second, we live our culture being in harmony with natural nature, giving up the poison ways of the Western world. So that's the other goal to breaking the spell. And number three, third, we must learn to make all decisions based on facts and not beliefs by using sound right reasoning as our decision-making skill. Keep in mind, reasoning analyzes the whole, aka the circle, and not just parts when it comes to making intelligent decisions. Now, that's a very important point, guys. When it comes to decision-making and using reasoning, you have to learn to make decisions on dealing with the whole. Notice how, you guys, for those who are familiar with the whole Polite thing, the brother Polite, if you guys are familiar with the brother who was accused of the whole child molestation or whatever he's accused of. And listen to our people. They're just assuming everything he's accused of is true. And see, that's what we call, that's the mind, that's the religious mind. The religious mind teaches us to make decisions based on our belief systems and without facts. We're making decisions based on a story and we don't know none of the details. We're looking at the parts. Again, we have to look at the whole. The circle deals with the whole. So you have to get all of the data before you come to a conclusion. Only the unintelligent makes decisions, emotional-based decisions based on part of information. And they think they know what they're talking about. and then got the nerve to think they're smart. This is how our people easily are being ruled. That's why the government knows how to manipulate us. The CIA has been running these psych operations on our people for eons now, because this is how we think. They know it's easy. You can put any story out there, our people jump to it. As long as it's sensational and you got another black person saying this about another black person, we jump to it. You guys have to learn to think at the whole and not parts. You have to know how to get all of the data before you come to a conclusion. You have to hear all sides of the story first, and then you have to research the stories to see if it checks out. Is there any evidence to check out any of these claims or whatever? You have to get all of the data before you come to a conclusion. That's called the intelligent mind. Based on our emotions, and we just take a part and we run with it. Okay. Who asked this question? Clifton Davidson. How that fit in with the Bible interpretations and excuse me. How does what fit, Mr. Clifton? Any clarity? What are you trying to say when I was talking about the Adam and Eve story? Is that what you're trying to say? I suppose. And T Tiger, I like that. He said, ETs, what can we do about? We can't make them go home if this is their home. I'll deal with that. We own this planet, T Tiger. So it's not about making them go home. It's about bringing the planet back to the culture of Wu-Sabat. That's what it's about. Ruling the planet based on Wu-Sabat. We let the ETs take the planet. And now they're ruling the culture based on 6 ether or Leviathan. Ruling the planet, excuse me, based on 6 ether, Leviathan. But let me go back. So, Clifton, how does the Cadman, Zakar, and the Cable story fit into the Bible interpretations and explanations? Okay, that's a very detailed story. I have to get the books because I need to show you this. But the Zakar and the Cable story, right, was the first Adam and Eve project. So, and remember, one day is one cycle. So one day is talking about a cycle, and a cycle is 7,000 years. I repeat, one day is one cycle. So when the Bible says 7 days of creation, it really was talking about 7 cycles of creation. Okay, and so one day is one cycle, and one cycle is 7,000 years. So they said Adam and Eve was created on the 6th day in the Bible. The 6th day, remember, one day is 7,000 years, a cycle. So you go 6 times 7,000, and you get 42,000 years. So what happened is the 42nd thousand year of because they were terraforming this planet back then, and they was preparing the planet for the dimensional shift, because the planet was shifting from a 4 ether cycle into a 3 ether cycle, and that started 50,000 years ago. They started preparing for the shift. Okay, so it's a lot we have to go into to explain that story. But the Adam and Eve, or the Cadman and the Cable, that was a real genetic. That was a real genetic, as the master teacher explains it. That was a real genetic program going on between them, and they came on the scene. Zakar and the Cable came on the scene around, let's say, around 8,000 years ago. So that'd be like 6,000 BC. Then you had the Mukasu, aka the Caucasian, the albino children that came on the scene 6,000 years ago. So there was a difference between Zakar and the Cable and the albino children of 2,000 years. So Zakar and Wu-täbaʄ came on the scene around let's say, I think it was like 6,000 BC, and and the Caucasian Canaan, right? The sons of Canaan, they came on the scene 4,000 BC. And so there was a genetic project with the Zakar and the Wu-täbaʄ, right? And there was a genetic project with the Canaan story, with those albino children. So when you look at the Bible interpretations, the master teacher just puts in the albino children of the Hindus, and who were priests and nuns, right, under the order of Amun, right, Amanubi. And so and then it goes and say they were influenced by the moon god and blah blah blah, right? But that's more of, how can I say, that's more of an allegorical story as opposed to more of a detailed story of what was really going on. Because when they talk about the moon god, they really talk about the Pleiadians, right, and the other ETs that was dealing with the planet. Because we got to remember, when you're dealing with ETs, you're dealing with spirit beings. When you're dealing with ETs, you're dealing with humanoid spirits, humanoid spirit beings. When you're dealing with ETs, you're dealing with humanoid spirit beings. These are resurrected beings. That's the goal of us, where you're resurrected as a spirit being controlling your physical body. That's the goal of resurrection, where the goal of turning yourself inside out. But again, that gets very detailed into trying to, make sense of that. But we got a lot of discussions on that, guys. So we're gonna get there. I'm very familiar with Stephen Greer. Let me see. Hold on. So Phil Snyder that speaks on the underground ET bases. Cabins. Yeah, Nanya L. You're right about Phil Snyder. He him. Guys, talk about. Look at the Corey Good guy. His name is Corey Good. Look him up. He goes into a lot of that stuff. Let's see. Beliefs is based on feelings. Okay, that's what's up. Allison gossips about ETs. What can we do about ETs? Right, we can do a lot, T Tiger, when it comes to ETs. I said that before. You familiar with Zamal? You familiar with Stephen Greer? Yeah, I'm very familiar with Dr. Stephen Greer and the Disclosure Project. For those who, that's what I'm saying. If you're really serious about studying the UFO phenomenon, it's studying people like Dr. Stephen Greer and his work, the information that he's put out, right? With the alleged government witnesses, all the government witnesses that he put out, who all claim to have had experiences with ETs working for the government. In essence, they were really working for the secret government. And they were dealing with ETs. So that's extremely important, right? So let's keep going. How do you feel about joining groups like the Rosa? Okay, this is a question from what's their name? Meta Fizz, North Carolina, I think. How do you feel about joining groups like the Rosicrucians? My argument isn't that our knowledge also? Okay, we do not join any groups like that. The only people we are with is Wu-Sabat. We don't recommend our people joining any groups like that. The Rosicrucians, the Rose and the Cross, they stole their information from Kemet. All of these so-called Mukasu Caucasians who argue, keep talking about New Age information and they're teaching spirituality. All of that stuff was plagiarized doctrine they got from our ancestors out of Kemet. Keep in mind, when the Mukasu conquered the planet, right, within the last 500 years, Egypt was one of the territories that they took over. Right? Great Britain, in the 1800s, they basically had Egypt under control. In 1700s, the Napoleon, remember Napoleon, took over Egypt. right? He invaded Egypt. And so what I'm saying is that they were getting all the secrets, and they were getting information from spiritual teachers. Plus, they was getting this information going back to the Freemasons. And I told you guys by the name of Francis Bacon. They were getting a lot of information from the Moors, who were teaching alchemy in in Spain, when the Moors controlled Spain from the year 700 AD up into the 1500s. And that's how the Europeans got educated about Kemet. And this is where they learned about a lot of spiritual knowledge, right? The Spaniards were learning, the French was learning, the British was learning. That's how they was able to develop their sciences, And so anytime you see the Caucasians talking about spirituality, all that stuff is plagiarized doctrine that they were either getting from Kemet, or they was getting it from Hindus. Right? And where was the Hindus getting it from? The Hindus was getting it from Kemet. Everybody got all their spiritual knowledge out of ancient Kemet, out of Egypt. Okay? And the Hindus will admit that. The Hindus will admit that they got the information out of Kemet, because people accuse the master teacher of plagiarizing certain books that we put out, right? And they're saying that was coming from some New Age Caucasians. That's a bold-faced lie. That information that the Caucasians were putting out in the 1800s, that was not their doctrine. And anyone who knows anything about the Caucasian know that they're the least most spiritual people on the planet. They were still in spiritual knowledge. Okay, so you guys need to know that. So no, we don't join none of their organizations. Why would you? Why get watered down versions? Plus, and none of them are spiritual masters. The master teacher, that's why we call Dr. York the master teacher, because he's a spiritual master. Anyone who studies our doctrine can clearly know that we have the most profound doctrine of spirituality than anyone on the planet. So that's very important for you guys to know that. Okay. Next, what else? So Ronald King, the 7,000-year cycle of the Smack Circle, they were formed during one of the 7,000-year cycles. Ronald King, yeah, they were. The Adam and Eve project, they were again, this project started 50,000 years ago, the last what we call epoch, right? And so it was more than one. This planet is really a cloning planet for ETs. The best movie that goes into that, I keep recommending you guys watch Jupiter Ascending. For those who didn't see that movie, you need to watch that movie, because that movie is pretty on point on some of the things they're putting in there. But this planet is being used as a cloning planet for ETs. Just about every race on the planet has been cloned. The Hindus have been cloned. The Asiatics have been cloned. The Mukasu has been cloned. And we have been cloned. Okay? We have been cloned. They use the Tahites to clone us. That's what how Zakar and the Cable Project, they was using the Sands tribe and they used the Twa tribe to make clones of us. And so there's a lot of cloning on this planet. It's off the chain. But these are the secrets that the secret government is keeping secret. They know these things. Let's see. T Tiger, all is mine. You got that right. All is mine. We're trying to get out of this planet and not return. This planet belongs to Leviathan. No, not necessarily, T Tiger. It's about putting that. We're gonna go into that. It's about putting the planet back in harmony, and we will do it. We will do it, but we're gonna get into that. How we're gonna do it. That's why we are here in this jail cell. Yeah, the planet Earth is a jail right now. I agree. But if anyone liked the way this planet is going, then stay if you like this. That's what's up. I hear you. TJ, seek out and read the book. Sacred with Tahuti. Okay, that's what's up. Pyramids. have connections to our story. Also, yes, the pyramids in Mesoamerica. Zamal asked a question about the pyramids in Mesoamerica. Mesoamerica. Yeah, there's a connection to us. That was they was doing the cloning projects in out here in Mesoamerica. There was a cloning project here in Central America. In fact, that's where the redhead and green-eyed Mukasa was created. The so-called Irish, they were cloned here in Mesoamerica, and so that was something else the master teacher put out there. So it's a lot of stuff, guys. It's a lot. Are there a question from Gawada 9? Are there extraterrestrial viruses? Yes. The master teacher said this coronavirus is an ET virus. So ETs have been putting viruses on this planet for quite some time. And that's it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem, guys. This is why we teach resurrection. You guys have to resurrect. You got to develop yourselves, turn yourselves inside out, open your third eye to make contact with your ancestors. You have to become one with your oversoul, and then you'll have access to your dormant memories that's locked in your DNA. You'll get access to your dormant memories. It's really locked in your subconscious mind, and you'll have access to it once you become aware of your subconscious mind, or become in tune with it. So, but you won't get access until you become one with your oversoul. You have to become one with your oversoul first, and then you can get access to your memories, to your memories, because all of this stuff is encoded within our genetics. But you can't access this information until you become one with your higher self, your oversoul. And we're gonna do discussions on how to become one with your oversoul, right? Why one should become one with their oversoul. So we're gonna do discussions on that. So that's real important, guys. Okay, T Tiger said the government can't do anything about the ETs, so I'm curious to your plan. Okay, the plan is T Tiger is resurrection. You first have to become one with your oversoul. The conditions that we are in now, me, nobody's a match for ETs, because you're because of the fact you're operating as a mortal. Okay, you have to be resurrected in order to deal with the ETs, because all of the ETs are resurrected. Those are, like I said, when you're dealing with ET, you're really talking about a humanoid spirit being. These are spirit beings who are incarnated into physical bodies, and they're operating, their physical bodies at their maximum potential. So, for instance, the human body has a maximum potential of greatness, but we as Africans are not using none of our maximum potential. So we have dormant senses like telepathy and clairvoyance and psychometry. We're not using nothing. We're only using our 5 basic senses of see, hear, taste, smell, right, and touch. Okay, that's what makes us mortal, because we have been reduced to these basic senses. And so we have a lot more higher senses that we have access to that puts us on par with these ETs. And then we have to be educated on how to use these dormant senses. Okay. And so again, we're going to go into that. It's so much. Just be patient. It's a lot we have to get into. It's a lot. And I can't go into all of this stuff in 2 hours. It's not possible. It's like keep in mind, the master teacher, like I said, he's written close to 1,000 books over a period of 50 years. You know how much information that is that we put out? I mean, the information is boundless, the amount of data that we put out. So we have the doctrine. It's just it takes time for students to begin to comprehend this doctrine. So it's not about us leaving the planet, it's about us correcting the planet. But we have to be in our right mind. And right now, we're not in our right mind. Okay, so that's what we're trying to explain to everybody. Let's see. Zamal, it's already being done. Hollywood TV. Okay. How do you think the government is going to inform the public about the UFO phenomenon? Okay, Zamal. Yeah, that's correct. Knowledge seeker for Zamal. They're already right. There's a fight going on with the secret government where you have those in the secret government who want to do disclosure, and they're the ones that are responsible for the History Channel and putting all that UFO information out. And then you have those who don't, who still want to keep it secret. So there's a battle going on. The master teacher talked about this because he said they actually wanted to do disclosure back in the 70s and the 80s. He said 2 times they tried to do disclosure back in, he said, I think the first time he said 1972, 1973, they tried to do disclosure, and then they tried to do it in 1980s. And both times it didn't work. But he said they did try. So there are elements in the secret government that want to put this data out to the general public. And then you have those elements that don't want to put that out. But it doesn't matter because the master teacher said the ETs are going to make themselves known more and more as time progressed to the general public, where you can't hide it anyway, where humans are going to start interfacing with ETs. That's what the master teacher said that. And you see it. That's what the guy Lou Alexander was trying to say in his last report. He's saying they're seeing the military is seeing these crabs every day now. They're saying every day it's in the atmosphere. And these crabs are showing themselves to battleships, and that's in the oceans. So people are seeing it constantly, and more people are reporting seeing UFOs. So it's inevitable. And I guess I got a question before I close out. One last question I want to ask you guys. Has anyone besides myself have ever seen a UFO? Press 1 if you've ever seen it with your own eyes. Press 1 if you've ever seen it with your own eyes, or press 2 if you never saw a UFO. Has anyone ever saw a UFO? Press 1. Or press 2 if you never saw a UFO. Okay, so we got we got some people there that seen a UFO. We got some people that said they seen a UFO. That's what's up. So for those who've seen a UFO, know it's real, right? For those who've seen a UFO, know it's real. Okay, and I try to tell people my story. I saw like I say this numerous of times. I saw like a mother ship, like a city. It was the size of a city. It was that big. It was that big. So these things are real, guys. These things are real. What I saw was as big as a floating city. The thing was gigantic. It was like you see in that movie Independence Day. It was big like that mothership. When that mothership came down, and in fact, it was probably bigger than the mothership. It was big. It was big as that. It was big. What I saw. So these things are real. Okay, Zamal, you seen a beam like a light beam coming from a ship? Is that what you mean, Zamal? You seen a light beam? Because the master teacher talks about that light. He says it's like a blue beam that people claim to be hit with. And the master said what it does when they're about to abduct somebody, they hit the person with a blue beam of light. And he says what that blue beam does is sucks the oxygen out of the person's body and makes them unconscious. And then they zap them into the ship, and then they resuscitate them back. They put oxygen back in their body. But that's how they, kidnap people by sucking all the oxygen out of them. And he said that blue beam, it's a blue beam that does that to you. Okay, and so Coach Ample said, I say 7, 8 emerald lights floating in the distance. That's what's up. Yeah, that's see that. And so for those who had these experiences, you know this stuff is real. You know, you know this stuff is real. This is not fake. Stuff is not fake, man. This is really, really real. Allison, where were you when you saw it? If that's for me, huh? Where was I? I was driving. This was back in 1996, I think, or 97. I keep forgetting the year, but I was driving and I was in in fact, this is when we had the land, when we had our community, and we used to have our festivals in June. And I was leaving. I was living up north at the time. And so I was leaving the festival, driving back home up north. And so I travel at midnight when I used to do it. So I would leave at midnight. And so I was on the road. I was on Interstate 85, and we must have been either in South Carolina or North Carolina when we saw this. Because when we was driving wherever we was driving on Interstate 95, and it was a lot of woods. It was wooded, and the ship just appeared out of nowhere, and it stayed there, guys. What we saw, it stayed there for about, I would say, guys, it had to been anywhere from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. It was there for a long time, because it got scary after a while. First, you get excited because you see it. And and that's what happened to me. You see it, and then you realize this stuff is real, and then it stayed there, and it kept staying there, and it kept staying there. And I tried to drive the car to try to drive away from it, but I'm on the highway, so you're only going straight. So I started to accelerate, and then I realized you couldn't drive. There's nothing you could do. You couldn't drive it. It was just too big. You couldn't outdrive. It was too big. So you get scared. I did get scared. I'm be honest with you guys. It wasn't a pleasant experience when you see that, because you become helpless. You do feel helpless. And I actually started to call on the masters. And I really did. I started to call on the masters, because I was like, I don't know who's in who's in that ship. I started to say that. I don't know who's in the ship, because it was there for a long time. And then that's when it disappeared. When I started calling on the masters, like, what's going on and all, because then I did get scared, guys. So it's real. But I tell this story, and I think it's important to tell this story so that people know that the master teacher is not the only one who's had these experiences, know these things is real. Many people like myself have had these experiences and know that these things are real. Unfortunately, a lot of people have not had these experiences. That's why it's so important to research on the subject matter so that you know it's real. Because through research, then you can find out, whether or not a story is true or false. So, that's important, But I say kudos to everybody who's had a personal experience, because this is real. This is a real thing. So kudos to everyone who's had a personal experience. And this is the point of resurrection. This is the point of spiritual work, so that you can learn how to make contact with your ancestors who are real, who do exist on these other dimensions, and they will communicate with you. This is the whole point of our whole doctrine, guys. This is the whole point of what we teach and why we teach what we teach. Okay? So it's about that time. We're going to have to revisit, because a lot of things I did not get to go into, and I keep doing this each and every week. So we're going to revisit this subject next week, because there's so much I need to go into and show you guys. And I need to get that book. So when we get into because we're going to get into the story, the real story of Adam and Eve. You guys need to know that. You need to understand the timeline that we're on. Okay, because like I said, when they're talking about the Bible, they're talking about a 49,000-year timeline. So when it says 7 days of creation, each day is considered a cycle. A cycle is 7,000 years. from the Bible perspective. And we're in the last 1,000 years of that 7-day cycle, guys. So the Bible time that we're on, that timeline, we have another 1,000 years left that'll take us into the year 3000 AD. And that will be the completion of the dimensional shift. So after the year 3000, guys, there will be no human mortals on the planet, be no mortals. Any people that are left on the planet will be humanoid spirit beings, meaning they'll have a human body, a physical body like we do, but everyone will be resurrected. They'll be in they'll be resurrected humans. I don't know. That's the best way I could say it. Another part of mine called it human spiritist, right? Like Homo sapien, human sapien, whatever. Homo spiritus, he called it. So to be people who can live in a 4-ether environment. Because right now we're in a 3-ether environment moving into a 4-ether environment. And so all 3-ether species will go extinct and we're moving into a 4-ether environment. And it's going to take about another 1,000 years for that completion, to happen on this planet and blah, blah, blah. But we're going to get into it, guys. We got... so let's see. I saw a huge black triangle and it hovered above me. I waved at it. Oh, you waved at it and it flashed a bright white light at me. Yeah, see? That's real talk, man. I logged it down at my workplace while I was doing a security job late midnight. That's real talk. That's real talk. This stuff is real. It's real like Holyfield. It's real. I'm glad to hear all these experiences, guys. I'm glad to hear all these experiences. So, on that note, we're going to close out, guys. I can't stress enough. Spread the word. Spread the word. Spread the word. We more and more people need to be aware of Wu-Sabat. They need to understand. This is the only solution. We got to get back into right knowledge. We got to get back into sound reasoning. Our people got to get away from these religions that make them make the stress that enough. Religion causes our people right, and that's why we fight religious dogma, because it messes up your brain. It takes you, it puts you in Disneyland. It takes you out of reality. And our people love Disneyland. They don't want to deal with reality. And we have to get us back into dealing with absolute facts, not belief systems, guys. Yeah, okay. Danielle, he talked about he heard no noise. That's their trademark, because the craft that I saw, as big as it was, it made no noise. You're right. It made no noise. These things don't make noise. That's some serious technology they got going on. Yeah. Yeah. That's what's up. Yeah, beliefs, he said, beliefs based lies, beliefs. Yeah, beliefs, man. It's to lie. What would we say? To be lie, believe, be lie to Eve's children, or whatever we used to say. Right. Our people got to get back to facts, not the fictions. So on that note, we're gonna get ready, sign off. And next week we'll be back, because again, we have so much data to go over. It's incredible, but must study. Our doctrine is about self-authentication. It's not about beliefs, right? It's about doing your own research, and verifying what we teach, not believing what we teach. Verify it. If you don't know, you don't know. Your goal is to know, to get back into knowledge, right? And so to do your homework, to do your research, not to believe nothing I'm saying, not to believe no one. If our people stop believing, they'll stop voting for all these crazy people. Lie to them. They vote every year. They keep voting for these people and they keep lying to them. You know, that's you know, we got a problem, you know. And again, it's religion did that to us, making us vote for people that lie to us constantly. It's insane, but we're gonna get there, guys. So that's the war we're fighting, right? We're fighting that war. Also, I got to teach you guys, there's affirmations you have to learn. We're going to go into this. I'm just going to give you a quick update on these are certain affirmations. So like when you say you want to make contact with your oversoul, you say, I want, the way you would say that is knuckle. And tot for a female. So you would visualize yourself seeing that. You visualize your higher self, and you would chant this to yourself. Nakuk daya lake aquino and tak. Nakuk daya lake aquino and tak. Right? And so that's an affirmation you're supposed to say 100 times, 3 times a day. Okay? 100 times you chant that 3 times a day. Another one chant affirmation is, remember the pure green healing light all around and inside me, you say. Remember the pure green healing light all around and inside me. So the way you say that in our Lahaj is, Askor pa tahir khadar shafuri nawar kalau hawu wu jawef naya. Askor pa tahir khadar shafuri nawar kalau hawu wu jawef naya. Askor pa tahir khadar shafuri nawar kalau hawu wu jawef naya. You visualize that while you're saying that chant, that affirmation. Again, you say it 100 times, 3 times a day. Another one is, I will travel safely out of body today or tonight. So if you're saying it during the daytime, you say it for today. Or if you're saying it at night, you say tonight, right? So you say, I will travel safely out of body today. The purpose of learning to travel out of body, that's how you are able to make contact with Panatharu, right? So you would say, Nakuk shawel salimli asfor fawaz shalal khatat panan zamut. So when you say paman zamut, that means today. Paman zamut, that means today. Or if you say panan garut, that means tonight. Panan garut, that means tonight. So you say, Nakuk shawel salimli asfor fawaz shalal khatat panan zamut. Nakuk shawel salimli asfor fawaz shalal khatat panan zamut. Nakuk shawel salimli asfor fawaz shalal khatat panan garut. Nakuk shawel salimli asfor fawaz shalal khatat, panan garut. Right? You can get prayer beads, like the Muslims, they have the prayer beads, and on the prayer beads, it has 100, it has 100 beads. And so we would use those prayer beads, right? And so that's how you say it 100 times. Okay. So you visualize when you're saying these affirmations, you're visualizing yourself doing these things. You're visualizing the green light energy all around you. You visualize that. Right? You visualize yourself making contact with your oversoul, being connected to your oversoul. You visualize these things, right? And so you say it 100 times, 3 times a day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night before you go to bed, right? So this is another part of the rituals. These are another part of the rituals where you're basically what you're trying to do is program yourself to make contact, recalibrating your mind, the same way they program us through their commercials. right? We have to learn to program ourselves for righteousness rather than allowing ourselves to be programmed for unrighteousness. So these are just added spiritual techniques, guys, that I wanted to introduce you guys to. Okay, so with that being said, we're gonna close it out without, ending prayer real quick, and I will see you guys next week, right? So be blessed. Abdul Kalam Namasat was that Wabazo Namad Kasam on the Fa Pop Ut. Panan Safa Kawun. This book, Pa Sawab Wu-ҭaba�, The Truth and the Way. Z Kawuna Nazula Laha Enkum. It was sent down for you all. Manaz Sabat Wu-Sabat. From Sabat Wu-Sabat star constellation. Amah Hadeh and Shafe'un as a guidance and a healing. Manaz Salafu Wu-ҭaba�. From our ancestors and overseers. Aju Laya Nafasukum. Return to your own. Afuk Shene Kawun Kuma. Accept what is yours. Pa Sawab Wu-ҭaba�, the truth and the way. Enun Tawo Enkum, we thank you all. Lahe Panan Shafe on Wu Alaj for this healing and cure. Enun Tawo Enkum Lahe Nasuinun, we thank you all for not forgetting us. Enun Tawo Enkum Lahe Ashuk, we thank you all for divine love. Enkum at the Salafunun. You are our ancestors. Enun at the Khara'ukum. We are your children. Enun Talub Nasar Kuma. We seek your help. Enun Talub Nasar Kuma. We seek your help. And Sornun Sayim Nataru. Help us, divine overseers. And Sornun Salafunun. Help us, our ancestors. Enun at the Musba'u. We are Musba'u. Yaye munwapu enun laduda enkum mana mukwenun ame munta'u faye pafef enkum kada anuk bi khabat wu ma'at. O Nawapians, we birthed you all from our beings as Muntaru, so that you all can live by way of Ma'at. Ame kharad nun faye aju layenun. As our children, so return towards us. Am Ameh Wahu Yasa Wu Adut Muslaf Ukum Panen Kawun Pa Saheh Tarak Lahe Enkum as one family and call your ancestors. This is the right way for you all. Wu Enu Nata Panataru Wu Enu Ata Shawaf Jaya Enkum Jaya Kala Wakut at. And we are Panataro, and we are looking at you all at all times. Kare Ashuk Wu Azkor Munwapu Enun Khator Enkum Ameh Kharad Unun Wu Enun Rasula Enkum Muhdekum Kare Pa Seh Tarak Lake Raju Layenun. We choose you as our children, and we turn towards us. Butem Rahub Enhu Aweh Shanu Enhu Kawuna Rasula Lake Amul Lehe Enkum Nagad Nau. Do not reject him or what he was sent to do for you all, Nagado. Enkum Kawuna Pa Wahan Tapau Salal Shalil Tahui Takuyui Kawen Pa Nahe. You all were the first world race of creation and will be the last. Lehe Kale Yachau Hayez Zahbuhla Wahu Bi Wahu. When all others have faded one by one, Alesh Enhum Faula Tem Wafuk Munzar or whom Lahe Wah Salal Kawuna Rasula and whom Munzar or Wu Hasut and kum Anud kum Munzar or Nun Kare Nazar Kuma Faye Butem Enun ata ashuk enun at Ahmed Pa Monaco. Because they did not accept their warner, for each race was sent their own warners. And now you all have yours, our own warner with you all warning. So do not reject what we sent down for you all. Nagato, we are divine love. We do not threaten you with fires or tortures or sufferings as the Anaku or Nunaki. Enunabutim shayul and kum lehe khawuf nun awe jaul and kum khatoa wahu afef nun. We do not ask you all to fear us or make you all choose one of us. Kadeh me and kum ashuk mudatat kum wu mudad kum fayel lene enun shayul and kum lehe ashuk nun. Just as you all love your mother and father, also we ask you all to be khawaf khawuf. As we love you all, you do not live by way of fear of death. We will receive you all. Do not Pa munwatu and whom haye karenun be rabat wu saednus nut nahe lahe pa baad wahi pa khata aye khayor laye afar. The dead ones, they live with us by way of peace and happiness. No end for the soul, only the body which transforms towards dust. Lake khazui pa taha. Wu-ṭabaʿ rajul layenu. In order to feed the earth, and the soul returns towards us. Panen kawun tarak kuma. This is you all's own way. Fayeh arju layeh muslafu kum bi wunawa muslafu kum tarak. So return to your own ancestors by way of wunawa, your ancestors' way. For ya azkor enunata ashuk wu enun ashuk enkum kharad unun. So remember, we are divine love and we love you all, our children. Enkum ata muntaru kharad u empa nataru. You all are muntaru, children of nataru, overseers. Paot kawun. Tawa'at Yasar. Tower Act. So we will see you guys next week, right? Next week. Peace and love to all.
You see the world, right? I told you it was going to happen. It's just beginning. It's going to get worse. It's not getting any better. They blow that trumpet, that's it. We got to get the family back in the power of love. We can beat these devils. We will beat these devils. But everybody has to work together. I was watching you as you transcended right there. And I was like, whoa, see, part of your body, part of your referred to as your astral body, as you call it, part of it left lifted right up and went right back in. You like took a deep breath, and then you relaxed, and I saw it leave out your astral and then go right back in. That's what you do, because you're caught up. Remember your thing caught up in two worlds? It says it could be caught up. You're caught up in two worlds. You're caught up between the spiritual world and the physical world because of your DNA, because your what they call up your blood type. And that has to do with the arrangements of your nucleotides. There's a cinema called Doctor Strange. A new cinema out called Doctor Strange. Not very new, you can get it, called Doctor Strange. And they're going to explain, in that movie, they're showing all kind of ancient symbols and stuff that just blew my mind. And they're going to talk about the astral body and all that. Because I just disclosed that information to the next level. That's what I've been doing. So I started giving them the steps on how to make that next level. And part of it is how to I explained the astral body and how to get it out of the body. But you go out, but you drop right back in. And sometimes when you're sleeping, you'll be sleeping and you'll feel like you're sitting up, but you're still laying down. Your spiritual master won't let you go any further because you can get stuck out the body. But I mean, you'll wake up, but your astral body will be out your body, and you can go into what's called a time loop. A time loop means you just keep on reliving that same event over and over again. But you won't know it because you'll be body and spirit. Your soul will step out. Your soul can disconnect itself from the human body, and the spirit, which is the life force, the personality, and the you, is still there. And all the things you think are still there, but the essence of you, the decision maker of the spiritual side of you, that's a better way of putting it, is out the body. If I was able to sit with you and I could train you in no time to just step right up out your body, and you'll sit there and you'll look back and I'll point, and you'll be able to see yourself sitting there out your body. And because you have someone there, because someone has to be there to guide you through those steps. Otherwise, you can get, there's so many gateways and doorways interdimensionally that one can get lost in. That's what Jesus Christus was trying to tell everybody. You can get caught up. And that's why even though he told Judas, he said, Judas, you just got the devil. I just saw Satan into your body. Get out of here. But they said you are Satan. But what Jesus said in Aramaic was, I just saw Satan. I just saw the spirit of evil into your body. Get up out of here because the reason why I say get up out of here is because it's infective. It can spread from person to person. The same way when a bunch of women are living in the same house and all their menstrual cycles line up. With men, when a bunch of men live in the house, their emotional or angers towards each other line up. So they tend to side with each other against other men. See, it happens on the infinite square. It happens both ways. I'm not going to do a Freemasonry. Freemasonry came thousands of years after what I'm trying to explain. Okay?